Make sure that we're all working. Get this set up. All right. Good. Good. Hello, everybody. Raven Knight here. Hope you are all doing well. Welcome. Happy Monday. I know that it is the beginning of the week, and I know a lot of y'all are stressed out, tired, and exhausted, and believe me, I know that better than most. Glad that you are here. Welcome to the Raven's Reading Room, or Raven's Writing Room, or, Raven Roost, whatever you want to call it. This is where we do all my writing and reading. Usually I do my reading streams here, where I read to you my stories, both published and non-published, or where I'll teach you guys how I write and write some prompts for you guys. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Today we are continuing our reading of the Tale of Tomaki. We're picking up in chapter 19, and we're going to try to get as far as chapter 27. At the very least, we are going to finish Act 1 of the Tale of Tomaki. We are going to be finishing the Mamaragon arc, as it were, because I think we can finish that tonight. And then we'll move into the second arc of Tomaki tonight if we can. So very excited for that. Very excited to continue this story. It's one of my first superhero stories that I wrote, and I really do love writing Tomaki. So this should be a lot of fun. I hope that you guys enjoy it as much as I do. Before we get started, of course, I do want to say my typical rules still stand. My rules are as follows. This is a reading and writing stream. We leave all talk of video games, politics, response videos, all that stuff at the door. We're not talking about that. I will not answer questions about it. We are only talking about stories and writing here today. Second rule, please be respectful to me and to others in the chat. I do not mind you chatting with me or amongst others, but you must be respectful and you must be kind, or I will time you out. And finally, and most importantly, I do not mind if you chat with each other, but try your best not to make it about random crap, like it does get distracting because I keep an eye on the chat at all times, so that way things don't get out of hand, and I don't want to be too distracted by that kind of stuff, all right? So, I'm really excited to get into this. All right, so let's get started. We are starting off with the Tale of Tomaki, Chapter 19. This was written May 20th, 2016. Very excited to continue this, so without further ado, let's get into it. Tale of Tomaki, Chapter 19. I'm sorry, Mamaragon, Artemis whispered fearfully. The figure before her was tapping his finger on the arm of his chair angrily. The air seemed to tingle with his rage at the news. That fool, Artemis. I asked him to do one job for me, and he can't even accomplish that on his own. Sir, with all due respect, this Tomaki is far more powerful than any of us anticipated. He's become a force. What are you saying? That this is because I underestimated my enemy, Artemis? Amargon snapped. That this failure is somehow my doing? No, Artemis cried, dropping to her knees. I would never even dream of such a deduction, sir. Pity. 'Cause you'd be right, Amargon said. Sir? I believe this is my fault, Artemis. I've taken our foe too lightly. I should have acted the instant that I saw what happened to Atlas. He may have been a fool, but he was a powerful one. Hermes stood no chance if he encountered the Saiyan, and I should have seen that. And now my once prestigious organization has been reduced to you, Komodo, and myself, and I sense that Komodo will abandon us soon as well. All other executive members have fled themselves. I know that we've suffered some losses, sir. Major losses, yes. But I believe that it's fixable. You need not blame yourself, sir. You couldn't have known that. There's only one way to rectify this situation. I must ask now. Is it time that I took responsibility for this? Took this matter into my own hands? I shall find this Tomaki and those who help him, and I shall see him suffer before I end his miserable life. With each breath, Artemis felt as if the room was shaking with the wrath of her boss. Sir, you will kill everyone who even helped Tomaki? They must be made an example, and that includes the Rhodes family. If I cannot use Victoria Rhodes as a bargaining chip, then I shall simply do away with her and her father. Better to remove the bad crop and plant new seeds than to pray bad crops will grow good fruit. But sir, what about... I'm aware of my arrangement with Komodo, and I'm afraid it's out of my hands now. Inform him that our agreement has ended. He is no longer bound to my service. And also advise Komodo that, as a gesture of gratitude, he should leave the city immediately, lest my wrath falls on him as well. At once, sir. I'll do as you say, Artemis nodded, turning to leave. Actually, Amargon muttered, I'll do it personally. I need to pay him a visit anyhow. He stood up and suddenly began to walk to the door. And Artemis! Amargon's voice froze her where she stood. Yes, sir? Know that your loyalty shall be greatly rewarded. Artemis smiled nervously before Amargon left, but the smile vanished as soon as she was sure he'd left the room. At this point, Artemis was beginning to understand what Hermes had been talking about. Amargon was truly a terrifying man. I punched the heavy bag rapidly, sending it bouncing back and forth with each strike. I was frustrated, determined, and focused. Hayato stood by, watching, playing with a stick in the ground. I'd stayed at Dr. Nicole's home for 3 days, letting her treat my wounds and letting me rest. I didn't want to leave, and she didn't force me. But after the 3rd day, I knew I needed to go and talk to Master Hayato about the whole thing. I'd thanked her for letting me stay, and she simply said I could come back when I wanted to. Something told me I would, too, but for now I had to talk to Master Hayato. He looked up at me after a few more rounds. You're all over the news, boy. That fight about the city was no joke, Hayato noted. Yes, sir. I highly doubt this Mamaragon fellow will simply overlook this, Hayato pointed out. I doubt it too. Are you nervous? I'm a Saiyan, master. I live for battle, I replied. That's not an answer, he pointed out wisely. I stopped punching the bag and stared at my trembling hands. Something's changed about you, boy. Talk. Yeah, I'm a bit nervous, I confessed. But more than anything, I'm scared of myself. Why? Sir, master, when I fought Hermes, when I battled him in the sky, he put Victoria in danger. He nearly killed her, and there was a moment when I wanted to kill him. I see. And how does that make you feel? At the time, I liked it. I enjoyed the sensation, master. I relished it. I wanted him dead. I swung my foot back at the heavy bag and tore it off its chain with a single kick. Hayato watched it sail to the other side of the yard as I fumed. And then I snapped out of it. I saved him. But what if I hadn't? What am I, master? Am I a killer? Only you know the answer to that, boy. Master, I'm a Saiyan, and a Saiyan is born to kill. I never had the desire to kill when I was growing up, but now, that day, and in that moment, I remembered. It felt like something had woke up. Something I didn't like, and that scares me more than anything else. What if I'm becoming what I was born to be? Tomaki, Hayato spoke up. The only time I saw you want to kill someone was when your mother died. I winced at the memory. But you didn't. You came back to your senses. And then all I'm doing is repressing my urges. That's all. I'm just a monster in the skin of a human. And what if you are? Hayato asked. I looked at him stunned. Do you think you're the only man who lost his composure and self-control when his loved ones were in danger? It's in a man's nature to protect the things he cares about. Wanting to destroy the thing that threatens it is natural. But not when you're me, master. Not when you can do what I can. And besides, there's more than that bothering me. I'm scared for more than just myself. It's for Victoria. Her and everyone else in Shan City. Mamaragon knew she was a weakness for me. And he might exploit that or try to put someone else in harm's way to get to me. And what if they do? What if he cheats and someone gets hurt just like Just like your mother, Hayato asked. I nodded wordlessly, turning away from him and walking towards the well. You know what I said to my mom before she died? I told her I loved her. I told her that I thought of her as a mother too. I let her know that she was important to me. And then I lost it. I lost her. I waited till the last goddamn moment to tell her the truth, and now I can never make amends for that. And what of Victoria? Will you wait for the last moment to tell her how you feel? But that's the thing, Master. I have no idea how I feel. She makes me feel so strange when I'm around her. I get this knot in my throat when she speaks to me, and when she touches my hand or an injury, I feel my heart beat a bit faster. Sounds pretty clear to me, boy. That'd be love. It can't be! Because I didn't feel those things around Mom. Does that mean I didn't love my mom? Love for a mother's not the same thing as the love for, well, a girl your age. What do I do, Master? I'm scared that if I tell her I love her and it's not really love, she'll hate me, and then I'll hate myself. But if I don't tell her something, I run the risk of missing the one chance I have. In my humble opinion, Tomaki, even if you don't know how you feel, it's best to tell her something rather than nothing. That, and a bouquet of flowers never hurt either. I chuckled at that. Thanks, Master. Don't thank me yet. You went and damaged my heavy bag without permission. Go clean that mess and give me 100 reps on that bag before you run off. Hey, Victoria! Victoria paused and looked to see Jada walking towards her, her normal smiling face a mixture of worry and shock. Hey, sorry, I know I was late this morning. How can you be worried about tardiness? I was trying to find you all day. You were kidnapped, Victoria. It's been a week since her scuffle with Hermes. The flyboy was now being shipped to a maximum security prison along with his remaining crew. Over the last few days, several members of the triad had either turned themselves over or fled for parts unknown. While many in the city were happy for this news, Victoria was distracted. Tomaki hadn't been seen at school or by the police since the incident. He still didn't have a phone, so she could reach out to him, and he wasn't in the hospital after his fight with Hermes. She was sure he'd been injured. He'd gotten shot while protecting her. But where was he? There was only one other person who knew where he might be, and that was Master Hayato, but she didn't have the time or transportation to go ask him. She was worried. When would she see him again? She tried to go about after school life as normal, but she'd become the talk of the campus since she'd been kidnapped. Now everyone wanted to talk to her about it, Jada included, it seemed. Yeah, I know, you were there, Victoria groaned as Jada walked beside her. We were terrified for you, and Warren, he was just beside himself, Jada added. Oh, yeah. Victoria suddenly frowned deeper. When Hermes had tried to grab her, Warren had tried to stop him, but he'd been knocked aside without much effort. She'd seen him a few times since then, and he'd been far more than apologetic. She kept walking with Jada out to the parking lot to head home, and Jada was talking a mile a minute. She let her. It was just how Jada was. I mean, I told my big brother all about it. Marcus was sure that you'd be okay. Guess he was right, but who would have thought Tomaki could do all that he did? And where is he? Everyone wants to thank him for what he did, and oh! Jada finally stopped and she saw someone standing in the lot ahead of them. Victoria looked too and saw the tall and nervous expression of Warren. He was wearing a tank top and baggy pants, his hair tied back and his eyes looked very concerned. Warren? Vicky! Glad I caught you. Are you alright? He asked. I'm fine, Warren. I was the last 7 times you asked. Please, don't worry so much. He's right, Victoria. You ought to be more concerned about all this. If the Triad came after you because of your daddy, and then you should be way more cautious than you are. I think you're way too calm about this situation. After what Tomaki did to Hermes, I think they'll think twice about coming after me. Well, no one's seen Tomaki in days, Warren countered. Maybe he flew the coop. That's not who he is, Victoria argued. He wouldn't. Look, Victoria, I know he's a friend of yours, but... Look, I owe him too, Warren groaned. You know, I get it. He saved my life too. But you gotta stop relying on him, girl. Look, let me take care of you too. Or Jada. Amen, Jada nodded. What makes you two think I need taking care of? Last I checked, I got my concealed carry permit. What, you think a gun will bother half the goons after you? Warren snapped. Half of them are bulletproof and the others just... I know, Victoria rolled her eyes. Dad's told me all about half these freaks. I'm not afraid of them. Warren sneered at this but shook his head. You really should be. Anyway, I'm here to drive you home, Camino offered. I know your car's still in the shop and your dad is working late. Victoria sighed. God, you are persistent. What about you, Jada? Warren asked. You need a ride too? No, thanks. My brother's coming to get... Oh, that's him there. Warren and Victoria turned to see a blue car drive up into the lot. It parked by the sidewalk and the engine turned off. Out stepped a young black man with a leather jacket on and green undershirt. His long dreadlock hair was tied back by a band, and his yellow eyes looked at the three of them with a friendly smile. Jada, come on. I got supper started. Hey, Marcus. Jada sprinted to her brother and threw her arms around him fast. And thanks for getting here so fast. I wanted you to meet Victoria, the girl who got kidnapped. Remember you said she'd be all right? And she is. You're a fortune teller, big bro. Vicky, meet my fortune teller brother. She giggled. Marcus smiled and walked to her, holding out his hand. Good to meet you. Sorry I ain't met you before, but work keeps me gone all the time. Victoria extended her hand to take it. Pleasure's my... Ow! Warren suddenly slapped her hand away fast and glared daggers at Marcus. Say what you want to me, not her, Warren hissed dangerously. Warren, for crying out loud. Easy, man, Marcus laughed, holding up his hands. She your girl, right? Didn't mean nothing by it, just being polite. Yeah, sure you were, Warren muttered. But Jada and Victoria were both staring at Warren in surprise. Sure, he was always protective, but he'd never acted like this. Warren, would you calm down? He's Jada's brother, not Hermes or one of those punks. No, it's fine. I'd be protective, too. We do anything for the people we love, right? Marcus asked, wrapping an arm around Jada and smiling. Jada nodded him and hugged him tight, giving Warren an accusing look. Yeah, we would, Warren hissed. Anything. Marcus nodded, a smile of understanding. No harm done, then, Marcus laughed, his white teeth showing momentarily in contrast to his dark face. He then pat Jada on the shoulder. Let's head home, then. It was nice meeting you both. Oh, and, your name was Warren, right? Marcus called. Your girlfriend's real lucky. I'm not his girlfriend, Victoria grumbled. Well, you sure don't think that. Marcus laughed. Warren just stood there, glaring dangerously at Marcus, but it wasn't with anger. It was fear. Anyway, why not work out your problems? Go on a trip somewhere. Get out of town, you know? The way he said that, Victoria noticed, wasn't natural. In fact, Marcus had a coldness to his eyes in that moment that sent a shiver down her spine. And it was gone just as soon as it appeared. Take care, you two. And with that, he was gone. Warren, what on earth is wrong with you? Victoria demanded. The way you acted was completely... Come on, Warren snarled, taking Victoria's wrist and dragging her towards his car. What the hell? Let me go. We don't have time. We gotta run. Run? Warren, let me go and tell me what's wrong with... That man was Mamaragon, Warren shouted. What? That was Mamaragon, Victoria. And now he knows what you look like. He's coming for you, and I have to get you as far away from the city as I can. Jesus Christ, he's going to kill you! Chapter 20. When Master Hayato finally let me go, I flew straight into town to buy a bouquet of flowers. I didn't know Victoria's favorite kind, so I just went with roses. Seemed like a simple and good idea. I walked out of the flower shop, cradling the flowers in my hand as I struggled with the right words to say. What do I tell her? I flew into the air and started drifting towards her place, running the scenario over and over in my head. I'd walk up to the door and knock. I'd hold out the flowers. Hey, Victoria, I said loudly, trying to sound professional. So I was walking by and... No, that won't work. She'll see the flowers. Okay, what about... Oh, Victoria, so I found these flowers and... No, idiot, why is this so hard? I ran over the scene over and over, each time not satisfied with it. But soon the time was upon me. Her house was just below me and I gulped, landing on the sidewalk leading up to the front steps. Okay, Tomaki. Keep it together. You fought mutants, androids, and losers with jetpacks. Giving a girl flowers is nothing. I'd rather fight Mamaragon himself right now, I whimpered. I walked up to the door and held out shaking knuckles. Just do it. Just do it. Say hello, give her the flowers, tell her that you love her. Or do you? Damn it, what am I even doing? What are you doing? Huh? I looked up but saw no one. Who was talking? Victoria, please, just listen to me. I recognized the voice. That was Warren. It sounded like it was coming from behind the house in the backyard. Listen to what? What you're asking me to do is stupid. It's for your own good, Victoria, Warren urged. I stepped back and flew over the house, landing on the roof to get a better view. Warren was there with Victoria. They were standing in the garden and talking, though Victoria looked rather angry while Warren looked way more than upset and frustrated. I'm not running away with you. My heart jumped into my throat at her words. Running away with Warren? Was I already too late? Had Warren won her heart? No, that couldn't be true. My fist clenched tightly and I bit my lip furiously. Warren started cursing. Would you listen to me? He cried. That was Mamaragon back there. He's coming here to kill you. You are in danger. Everyone is in danger. That's why Tomaki's going to fight him and kick his ass, Victoria argued. And how the hell do you even know that was Mamaragon? I'm sorry, that was Marcus, Jada's brother? And he wasn't threatening anyone. I get you can't take rejection, but this is beneath you. You don't understand. He's after you specifically. Why me? Victoria asked. Because you're Tomaki's friend and ally. He's going to take out anyone who helped Tomaki, including you, Warren explained. Victoria raised her eyebrow and crossed her arms. And now that he's seen your face, he's coming to kill you if you don't get out now. You need to get gone. And how do you know that's Mamaragon? How do you know this, Warren? She asked. Warren suddenly froze a moment and rubbed the back of his head angrily as if he'd said more than he meant to. Look, how I know isn't important. Warren, what aren't you telling me? Victoria demanded. Please, just drop it. Go pack your things, and I'll explain everything later when I'm not packing a damn thing until I know the truth. Victoria, now! Victoria finally screamed. Warren winced and groaned. Look. Promise you won't yell at me, but... Vicky, I've been working for the Triad, he muttered. The entire world seemed to run in slow motion, and I felt my own heart catch in my chest. The enemy. Warren was working with the enemy? You're what? Victoria shrieked. Don't yell at me, please. Listen, just listen. Hear me out. After you and I broke up, I started showing signs of mutation. That's right, yes, I'm a mutant too, Victoria. I was scared. I already have a record, and I knew I'd be locked up or institutionalized if I found out by the MCD. There's not a lot of places to go when you're a mutant, right? When I heard about Mamaragon and the Triads and what they were doing, I offered to join him in taking over Shan City if he left you alone. I was trying to protect you. That was our agreement. Protect me, Victoria laughed. So you put hundreds of lives in danger so you could get, what, money? A cuddle buddy? Sex? It's not like that, Victoria. I swear I was thinking of your safety, Warren cried. But Victoria was already fuming and pacing angrily. All this time, you were one of them, and because of me. Victoria, calm down. So what's your fancy code name? What is it, Warren? All the Triads got those stupid code names for each other. What do they name you? Who should I tell Dad to arrest when I hand you over to him? My name was Komodo, Warren sighed. I felt my blood boil over. I wanted to rush down in there and slaughter Warren where he stood. That same fury built up in me that I'd felt the day Mom died, a week ago when Hermes put Victoria in danger. This animal. I had heard his name constantly in my dealings with the Triads, and all this time he'd been right next to Victoria and me, just biding his time. He was right here, right in front of the girl I cared about. Victoria's eyes went wider than I'd ever seen them. Komodo. The Triad's informant? You're the one who gave them intel on Tomaki and the city. I had to. If I didn't, they were going to kill you, Victoria. Why can't you understand that? I'd rather be dead than let those monsters take the city. Get out of here, Warren, or Komodo, whatever you call yourself. Just get out of here. Go. I'm not going to let Mamaragon kill you, Warren argued. He won't. Tomaki's going to beat the hell out of him. Oh, don't give me that shit, Victoria. Tomaki has no idea what he's up against, and I'm getting you out of here right now. He reached out to grab her wrist, but Victoria pulled away instantly and struck Warren across the cheek with a vicious slap. You're pathetic. You ran away. You gave yourself over to the Triads, and you turned your back on everyone here but me, and I almost wish you'd abandoned me too. Warren stared at her, a hand on his cheek where he'd been slapped, and Victoria glared at him angrily, tears rolling down her face. Now get out of here. You want to run away, you run. But I'm not abandoning Tomaki or Dad. I'm sorry, Victoria, but it is out of your hands. Suddenly, Warren reared back and his whole body began to shake. His flesh turned to scales. In form, his trousers sprung a long green lizard's tail. His head reshaped itself into that of a lizard, like a monitor. Fangs grew from his mouth, and his hands and feet turned to claws. His shoulders and muscles bulged out massively, making him look like a giant lizard man of some sort. He even appeared like some kind of Komodo dragon. I guess I finally got the name. Victoria leaped away from him and pulled a gun out of the back of her pants, aiming at Komodo. The lizard just glared at her and knocked her hand aside, grabbing her wrist furiously. "Sorry, but all of this will be better after tomorrow," he retorted, his voice a feral hissing sound. I couldn't stand it any longer. Not a moment longer. I leapt off the roof and drove down towards the two. "Let her go!" Komodo turned just in time to see me coming before my knee met his face. With a grunt like a wounded animal, Komodo went flying backwards into the fence at the edge of the yard. "Tomaki!" Victoria gasped. "What are you doing here?" "I wasn't expecting to find a triad member here. Right, Komodo?" I snarled. "Stay out of this, Tomaki. I just want to help her." "You've helped enough. Get out of here." "I'm not leaving her to die. She was mine first, you monkey." I tensed up at his outburst, and my fist clenched in fury. "Yours? Yours?" My energy exploded from within, and I felt my ki go wild. "Is that what she is to you?" I charged him, my teeth bared and my fist drawn back. He swung out a large claw-like hand, and I knocked it aside with a swipe of my arm. My fist met his chest, and he coughed in surprise and pain. I pounded repeatedly, each time building on it, in rage as my fist tenderized his chest and stomach. He couldn't even scream as I was striking too fast. "She's not your property, you damned lizard traitor!" I slammed my elbow into the side of his face, and I dropped down, grabbing his tail, yanking hard on it, and I swung him backwards, crashing him into a cluster of trees and rocks outside of the yard. He groaned and rose to his feet again, bleeding from his head and mouth. I flew in after him and shoved my open hand into his chest. "Reject!" I screamed as raw energy caused him to spit up blood onto the ground. He threw me off, and I landed up onto the fence, taking a defensive stance. "God damn you, Tomaki! If you just stayed away, none of this would have happened. It's all your fault that Victoria's in danger, that Mamaragon's coming here. So who's really the traitor here?" "Shut up, Warren!" Victoria cried, running up beside me. I glanced at her and almost instantly felt myself calming down. "I've heard enough out of you. I know you think what you did was right, but you're wrong." "What else could I do?" Komodo cried. "You would have hated me for what I am now." "I don't hate you for being a mutant, Warren, but I do hate what you've done for the Triad." "I did it for you, Victoria." "And that makes me feel even more guilty," Victoria replied. "Warren, just go. Please just get out of here." I snarled at him as if daring him to protest. Warren glared back at me and then turned. "I'll be back. I won't let him kill you," he hissed, running off into the forest. "I can't believe it," Victoria sighed, walking back towards her house with me beside her. There were tears in her eyes as she rubbed her head and cried silently. "I trusted him. I thought I could give him a second chance, and now?" "It wasn't your fault, Victoria. He fed the Triad information about the town, about you. It's all because I let him get close to me again. I told him all that had changed in the town. I told him everything about you, about Dad, about everything. You had no way of knowing. I was stupid. Just a stupid, naive little girl," Victoria sniffed. I felt pain in my heart seeing her crying like this, and I ran my fingers through my hair, struggling to think of the right thing to say. "Well, I really like how nice you are," I muttered. "I think you were trying to show kindness to him, and, that's really cool." She giggled a bit and rubbed her nose. "Oh, stop. But thank you, Tomaki." She suddenly turned and gave me a puzzled look. "By the way, why were you here, Tomaki?" I nearly slapped my own head in realization. "Oh, I almost forgot!" I leapt straight up towards the roof where I left the bouquet and jumped back down again, holding it out. It was a bit wrinkled from when I dropped it, but I held it out to her all the same. Some of the flowers were missing and petals were slipping from it. She stared at it a bit surprised and then at me. "Tomaki, what is..." I have something to tell you," I grumbled. I guess that now is kind of a weird time to say it, but..." I inhaled deeply and finally spoke. I don't know what it is, Victoria, but when I'm around you, I feel different than any other time. I can't explain it. And I'm kind of scared of how I get like this. I'm scared of how I feel, but I really like it. You make me feel different than anyone else does. I don't know what it is, but I wanted to tell you that that's how I feel. So here are these flowers. I cried, shoving them towards her, and a deep red blush growing across my face. She took them from my hands, and I heard her giggle a little. Tomaki, you are so adorable. I am not. Oh, you really are. Every girl dreams of hearing a guy say they love her, but what you said felt so much more sincere than anything I've ever heard. You didn't bullshit it or anything. I just love how straightforward you are. I never said I love you, though. I mean, I don't know if it's love or not. Is it? I asked. Well, it might be. Maybe in time we can find out. She leaned up to me and pressed her lips gently to my cheek, and I felt my energy spike again. My tail twitched and went rigid as my whole body felt like I'd just been electrocuted. She pulled away and giggled again. You really are sweet. Would you like to come in and have some hot chocolate? Yes, no. Yes, please, I squeaked. With a laugh, Victoria escorted me inside to enjoy a hot cup of coffee, or hot chocolate, whatever she called it. I couldn't remember. I was too enraptured by that kiss. I was reeling over the feeling of her lips on my cheek. I'm so sorry about the way Warren was acting, Jada sighed. He's just super protective of her. Makes sense, Marcus shrugged. We do anything for the people we love. He looked at her direction. Anything. Marcus, you okay? You seem tired lately. You work a lot later, too. Yeah. Layoffs at the office. Lots of people quitting or getting fired. I'll be real, sis. Not sure that business will stay open much longer. Oh no, Jada cried. What you gonna do? I'll work it out, Marcus answered. I always told you. I'm gonna make sure you never gotta worry about anything. So don't start worrying about me. I'm your sister. I gotta worry about you. She leaned her head on Marcus's shoulder as he lay back in his bed and looked at her sadly. Jada couldn't know who he was. He had to keep this from her. He'd turn off her alarm clock tonight. Make sure that she didn't wake up for school. Let her sleep in. Then he'd go. He'd march into Zhongborough and punish the police for getting in his way. And for Victoria for being a pain in his side. If Komodo was still there to stop him, he'd die too. He didn't know that Victoria and his sister were friends. That was unfortunate. Still, Jada would make new friends. Safer friends. Better than leave someone like Victoria alive and willing to oppose the triads. And finally, the Saiyan would die. He would die screaming. Everything Mamaragon had done, he'd done for her. So that Jada would be safe. Safe from all those who would hurt her. All those who could get to her. When he ruled this fucked up city, no one would ever put his baby sister in danger again. Not his father. Not those criminal thugs. And not that damned Saiyan. We do anything for the people we love, Marcus snarled. I know, Marcus. I know, Jada whispered. No. Not yet. Chapter 21. I flew towards school, a big grin on my face. Last night I felt like I'd won my greatest victory. It was a stepping stone in my life. I'd chased off that worthless Komodo and I'd earned a kiss on the cheek from Victoria. Somehow everything seemed to finally be going my way. I would happily eat lunch with Victoria today. I wanted to talk to her more and maybe get another kiss if I was lucky. I glanced down towards the school, only to see a shocking sight that wiped the fun and glee from my face. The faculty and staff, as well as the majority of the student body, were all standing around out front. Swarming crowds of people were there, all buzzing and talking amongst themselves. There were police cars gradually rolling up and buses stopping to load people on. My optimism was fading, and I gently descended to the ground near one of the teachers. I didn't know him, but I'd seen him in the school before. What's going on? I asked. Oh, Tomaki, thank goodness, the teacher cried. The sound of my name seemed to cause a stir. Students and staff all turned in my direction, and the nearby police all started moving towards me to brief me. The constant chatter and babbling was getting on my nerves, so I eventually had to push my way through the crowd to the nearest police officer. I asked him the same question, and focused on his face to hear his response. It's Mamaragon, he grunted. About half an hour ago, he just walked up into the school, knocked out the SRO, and then commandeered the school intercom, telling everyone to evacuate the building. Mamaragon! I felt my energy spike at the mention of his name. Aerial visuals saw him in the school's football stadium behind the school. We think he may have hostages, the police officer countered. I didn't need to try and fill in the blanks there. He wanted me, and he would hurt people to get to me. Time I put an end to this monster. I'll deal with it, I explained. Tomaki, with all due respect, you don't know what he's like. I'll be careful. But I'm not ignoring this either. I then launched in the air and flew for the football stadium, prepared to face the leader of the triads. Jada awoke to the sound of a knock. She groaned and rolled over, checking her alarm clock, only to bolt up with a start. The hell? Why'd my clock not go off? She cried, scrambling out of bed to get dressed as the door to her apartment banged louder. Hold on, she cried, throwing on a hoodie and pants before opening the door. Sorry, I'm running... Victoria! Victoria stood at the door looking incredibly worried, her hair tied back and her eyes brimming with tears. Jada, thank goodness, are you okay? Sure, I just overslept. What are you doing here? We gotta get to... Jada, have you heard what's happening? Victoria asked. Happening? What are you talking about? It's your brother. Marcus is attacking the school. At this, Jada's face went from confused to furious. You bitch, what the hell you just say? Marcus ain't no criminal. Just turn on the news, Victoria ordered. Jada didn't budge as her lip curled. You want to judge him too, just like everyone else. You don't know what he's had to go through for me and for our family. Just because he's a mutant, just because he's not like us, he's got to be some freak. Jada, your brother is Mamaragon, Victoria cried. Why, you lying? Jada, turn on the news, Victoria screamed at her. Jada cursed loudly, but then turned and marched to the living room, ripping the remote control off the coffee table and turning on the TV. Instantly, the black box burst with light and shone a helicopter image of the football stadium behind the school, with a news anchorwoman talking at length about what was happening. And there, with the camera zoomed in on his face, was Mamaragon. And his face made Jada's expression shift dramatically. Marcus, she asked. That's Marcus. Mamaragon. He's taken the school hostage, Victoria added. No, that's not him. It's... Jada was frantically trying to figure this out. How could that be Marcus on the screen? It couldn't be. He worked in the city. He always left early. He only came to her school to pick her up. Why was he there? As she looked at him, his face looked so strange. It didn't carry that same brotherly warmth and comfort she loved to see in him. It was harsh, cold, and expectant. How could that be him? Why is he there? Jada cried. I came to get you so you could tell me that. I didn't realize it was him until Warren told me yesterday. But he never even told me, Jada cried. Victoria moved quickly to comfort her, but Jada threw her hand out to knock her attempt aside. I gotta talk to him. That is a very bad idea, Jada. I need to. I know I can get the truth about this. Let me get to... He can explain it to me. Jada urged, running to the door. Jada, wait, he's dangerous. He is not dangerous. He's my brother, Jada cried. As she turned to shout at Victoria, her eyes went to the TV and she froze. Is that... Victoria turned to look, and she saw the camera pan back to reveal a new figure had landed on the bleachers of the stadium. A figure she recognized and felt her heart skip a beat. Tomaki, oh no, he's already there. I glared him down, taking in his features, his cold expression, his dark skin, his yellow eyes. As the wind churned around us and dark clouds gathered overhead, I could feel rain on the horizon, and the air was growing thick with pressure. This felt dangerous. Tomaki, Mamaragon finally spoke. Seems I finally get to put a face to the name. Mamaragon, what a mouthful of a name. Where'd you get that? Mamaragon smirked at the question and shook his head. My sister, actually. She has this book of obscure gods and mythological deities. I liked the name and used it. It's an aboriginal thunder god. Kinda suitable. But now I want to ask you a question, Saiyan. Sure, I answered, allowing myself the chance to calm down, look for his openings. I just want to ask if you have any idea just how much I want to kill you. How much trouble you've caused me since you showed up in Zhang? Margon asked with a furious snarl. I had everything under control. This city was as good as mine. I was going to bring fucking peace to this place. And then you come along and destroy everything I've worked for. Yeah, seems I have a talent for breaking things, I answered, enjoying the look of anger across his features. Yeah, I can believe that, he snarled. Now, if there are no other pleasantries, I'd like to begin your execution. The pressure around us seemed to grow gradually. Something was happening, and I didn't like it. I had to figure out what he was doing. Tell me why you're doing this, I shouted. Why the triads? Why attack the school? You wouldn't understand even if I tried to explain it. Now, do me a favor and die for me. Morgan finally took a dangerous step forward. I was out of time. I would strike first. I launched myself off the bleachers and rushed him. His guard was down and I could strike him with full force. My fist rushed to his face and he brought up his hand to block it. I felt the impact. And then... ah! I screamed in agony as I felt a surge of electricity course up my hand and throughout my whole body. I ripped my hand away and jumped away from him, breathing heavily and struggling to slow my racing heart. I moaned and clutched my wrists as I heard a low rumble of thunder. But was it from the storm? Or from... That was quick thinking. If you hadn't pulled away, your heart would have stopped, Margon growled. You're mighty stubborn. What the hell was that? I cried. Margon unzipped his jacket and stretched his arms as bolts of lightning jolted from his fingers, racing along the ground and through his body like coiling serpents. Shocking, isn't it? I'm a mutant. My body generates electricity at a frequency of my choosing. Like I said, naming myself after a thunder god felt fitting. Damn, that really hurt, I grumbled, trying to stop my limbs from shaking. Really? Well, don't worry. I'll make the pain stop. Margon raised his hand at me, and I could see bolts of lightning jumping from his fingers. I knew what he was going to do, and I felt the chill run up my spine. Die, he roared. The air exploded as a bolt of lightning thrust itself to strike me down. I leapt out of the way and forced my ki into my leg muscles, powering them to their maximum and charging towards him rapidly. You first! I pulled my fist back, ready to smash his skull to the ground. He pulled back his own fist and our two knuckles collided. The air again exploded like loud thunder as our fists clashed. The ground shook and the grass rippled away. Margon's face was etched in frustration as he strained against my strength. But I couldn't gloat. My hand had gone numb as it felt like a wall of electricity had been there to meet my fist. I cried out in agony and kicked off of Margon's body, clutching my trembling and numb hand. This man, this creature, he was like nothing I'd fought before. Ugh, shit! Margon, though, was coughing too. Where do you get that strength? He asked. I wanted to gloat at him, but my trembling body wouldn't allow me the bravado. I couldn't touch him. He kept pushing out electrical charges that acted like a barrier. If I did land a hit, I'd just get shocked for it. Damn it. Annoying pain-in-the-ass mutant. Whine if you like, but you ain't gonna beat me with brute force alone, Margon challenged, rising to his feet. Then maybe I can just blast you to oblivion. Margon sprinted towards me, and I sprinted back. I ducked his wild punch and shot one of my own at his stomach, but was thrown back by his electrical field. I roared and kicked at his leg, but my own leg was thrown wide by his lightning. Margon's fist suddenly hit my cheek, and I felt a burning sensation as his electricity-charged strike left me reeling in pain. I leapt clear of him and began firing a volley of ki blasts after him. He raised his hands, and a wall of literal lightning bolts flew up from his hands to block the blast. I sneered and remained in the air where he couldn't follow. Damn this guy! It doesn't matter how strong I am, he has an answer to everything! Are you tired of fighting on the ground down here? Margon asked. I didn't take you for a coward. Nah, just getting some distance so I can bury you. I cut my hands and began building up my ki into my hands. I blast him into the earth. The energy blast I released was immense as it flew towards its target. Margon sneered and raised his hands. A great lightning bolt rose to meet my blast. The two forces collided in the air, and I growled as I felt like my attack was being pushed, as if another force was fighting it. I poured more and more ki into the attack to resist it. Ah! The two attacks raged for a moment before I finally felt both cancel each other out, and I was forced to fly even higher into the air. I remained there, but I didn't flee. I could only glare at Margon in anger. No opponent I'd ever faced had been able to stop my strongest ki wave. It pleased me to see that the attack had upset Margon, though. He was breathing heavy, and there was a hint of fear in his face. It looked like I was finally starting to get to him. It seems neither of us were expecting this kind of fight. I'll use another, I muttered. As long as I have the air, he can't fight me back. Is that what you think? Margon laughed. Allow me to retort. There was another loud sound like thunder clapping, and Margon launched himself into the air. I glanced down to see the area where he stood was scarred black and burning with small sparks of fire. He'd used a lightning crash to get airborne. I pulled back but was a little too late. Spear of the gods! Margon snarled, striking me in the chest with his fingers. I couldn't even let out a scream as blood flew from my throat and out my mouth. The lightning he wielded found its way through me, and I felt my body rejecting my every command. I plummeted from the air like a thrown rock and hit the ground hard, wheezing and struggling to breathe. Amargon dropped down next to me and smirked in an irritated glee. I gotta admit, Golden Warrior, I can see why Atlas and Hermes fell to you so easily. No normal enemy could withstand my spear of the gods. Clearly, you haven't fought that many people, I growled back, trying to maintain some bravado, for all the good it did me. I inhaled deeply and struggled to my feet, but my legs wouldn't obey, shaking like twigs in a gale. True, I usually don't have to, but I'm no stranger to death, Amargon laughed. But before I kill you, I just have 2 more questions I want to ask. Firstly, I was led to believe you were some kind of Super Saiyan. Why not show that to me? Must have slipped my mind, I spat back. I actually wanted to use Super Saiyan on him, but we were too close to the school, and I could see that several onlookers were starting to appear in the stands. There was also that news chopper hovering not too far away. If I let out my Super Saiyan power and got someone hurt, I wouldn't be able to forgive myself. It doesn't matter that much to me, truthfully. Just curious. Second question. Why don't you tell me where your girlfriend Victoria Rhodes is? I want to thank her for all the problems you and her have caused me. Leave her out of this! No help at all, Amargon asked. Very well. I'll find her myself eventually. Now let's end this. He raised his hand, charging up a lightning bolt. Any last words, Tomaki? Screw you, I hissed, fighting to get up, barely able to lift my body. He placed his foot on my chest to hold me down. Poor choice of last words, but who am I to judge? I closed my eyes in anticipation. Ah! I opened my eyes wide. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Mamaragon was being tackled from the side by a great beast covered in green scales with a long tail dragging behind it. The beast's fangs were dug deep into Mamaragon's shoulder and driving him backwards to the other end of the wall. Warren! Get up, Tomaki! Warren roared. I can't hold him much longer! And he was right. Even as he was holding back Mamaragon, I could see electricity bouncing all around the lizard man as he winced and fought to keep hold. You treacherous bastard! Warren slashed across Mamaragon's chest and threw him aside with vicious force. I climbed to my feet, ordering my legs to obey, until at last I found myself standing again. Warren had gained the edge, but now Mamaragon was getting back on his own feet, and he was furious. Warren! Stop! Get out of here! I shouted. Oh, shut it! I have every right to be here. I won't let him kill you or Victoria! Warren ran at Mamaragon with the ferocity of a wild animal, and Mamaragon raised his own hand. Get out of my sight, you traitor. No! Warren was launched backwards like a rocket, slamming into the yellow field goal post with the bolts of electricity bouncing around his flesh. I started to run to him, and Mamaragon rounded on me. He disappeared in a flash of lightning, only to reappear and kick my jaw with the kind of power I'd only felt from Master Hayato. I felt my world flash like a bright firecracker, and then I was sailing through the air and landing in a heap on the ground. Mamaragon was snarling at both of us with a look of unquestionable loathing. Annoying pests. Ruining everything, he snarled. I didn't even have the words to respond. I was struggling to breathe. If you just stayed out of my way. He'd raise his hand to strike me again. Say goodbye, Saiyan. Marcus! The world froze. Mamaragon's eyes widened in terror as he turned fast at the sound. I turned my own head. There, running onto the field, was Victoria, and a young black girl with the same eyes as Mamaragon. Her hair was bouncing as she ran, and she had tears in her eyes, looking mortified. Victoria was right behind her, her own face filled with fear as she caught sight of me and Warren, both on the ground in pain and breathing heavily. Mamaragon looked at the girl who'd called his name and shook his head. Jada, no. Go away, go home, he shouted. What are you doing? What is this? Jada, I said go home. Answer me! She screamed, her voice choking on sobs. You're Mamaragon? All this time, you're the one threatening Zhong, trying to take over the city. You're the leader of the She Triads. Mamaragon was now shaking. He bit his lip, and I could tell he was struggling to maintain composure. Look, I'll explain everything later. I promise, just go home before you get hurt. Who's going to hurt me, Marcus? No one here is my enemy. Tomaki protects the city, Warren is Victoria's friend, and you're my brother. Who do I have to be afraid of? Who is here to hurt me? Why are you scaring me? You don't understand, sis. Make me understand. I can't! He roared back, electricity bouncing off his fingers. Victoria made a move to her, but Jada shoved her off. I can't do this right now. Listen, I have to do this, Jada. I have to protect you from... I have to keep you safe from... From what? Everything! Mamaragon cried. This time it was him who had tears welling up in his eyes. Ever since we lost Mom. Ever since then, I promised to keep you safe, and I have. And I have to keep that promise now. Jada, I will do whatever it takes. Even if it hurts. Even if it hurts right now. It'll all be okay tomorrow. We'll keep on going. These are my friends, Marcus. You'll make new friends. Better friends. Safer friends. Ones that won't put you in danger, Margon reasoned. Jada was barely listening anymore. She was just shaking her head. This can't be happening. What have you done with my brother? I'm still him, he cried, making a move towards her. I haven't changed. Hey, look at me. Look at me. Jada. Jada turned her eyes away fast, her lip quivering. I can't stand you, she whimpered. You put Victoria in danger. You're hurting people. How many people have you killed, Marcus? How many? Margon's eyes suddenly narrowed dangerously. The people I kill are dangerous people. And how long have you been doing it? How long have you been a killer? Jada cried. I was fighting to get up. Feeling was returning to my arms and legs. I was rising slowly. Jada, listen to me. Everything I did, everything I became, I did to protect you. You are safe because of me. And even if you have to hate me forever, at least you'll be alive and safe to do it. He was distracted. I had my opening. I made a move to get away and get to Warren. I had to get him and Victoria away from this place. I sprinted towards Warren's location when Margon finally noticed. You! He shouted, turning his eyes on me and raising his hand. Victoria screamed. Jada cried out, and I saw a flash of lightning erupt in my direction, only for a large figure to throw me to the ground and take the bolt full in the chest. Warren! I screamed. He stood like a paper statue in the wind, rocking on his feet, with a large burning hole right through his chest and out his back. He stared into oblivion, his eyes glazed over and blood streaming from his mouth. Victoria was screaming and running towards him, but he fell forward all the same. I caught him before he hit the grass. Warren! Warren! Warren, what did you... Vicky... He croaked. I'm sorry. Warren, stay alive. Look at me. Look at me, I roared. Keep her safe. So... And he was gone. I watched as any light faded from his eyes in that instant. Victoria wailed and fell beside us, grabbing Warren and screaming like a child. I stared stupefied, his blood still on my hands. He was gone. He was really gone. Warren, just like Mom, died saving me from death. Shit, Margon snarled. One more time, then. I looked up to see Margon raising his hand again for another attack. Victoria, get away! I screamed. But the instant she looked up, I saw something else run in the way. Jada had lunged, grabbing her brother's arm and knocking it aside, and in the process, every volt of electricity coursed from his arm straight into her body, sending her reeling back, jolting and jittering in violent spasms before she collapsed to the grass. Margon jumped back in horror and stared at his sister, spasming and finally going still. Jada! Jada! He bellowed. His roar seemed to call the storm as the rain I'd expected began to fall, and the lightning overhead crashed and flashed across the sky. People were screaming, fleeing. Victoria was sobbing uncontrollably beside Warren. But me. I felt something stirring. Fleeing. A violent rage I'd not felt in a long time. Just like when it was flaring, flashing like a raging hurricane beneath the surface. Mom. Warren, Jada, why do people keep dying to save me? Why do they have to die so I can live? Margon finally turned to me, his eyes wild with murder and rage. Lightning bolted from his eyes and body as he rose into the air. You did this, he roared. You bastard, you took my sister! Victoria, get out of here, I roared as I felt the rage rushing to me. Golden flashes kept meeting my gaze. I'd use it. I needed to use it. I would use it! I'm done holding back. I'm finishing this! Chapter 22. Cassidy Hill had been working with Sean City News for 5 years as a field reporter and journalist. She'd taken some dangerous jobs in the past and had gone to places where she knew that her well-being was most likely in danger. She developed calm nerves as a result, even amongst gunfire and shouting and protesting. But as she sat in the hovering chopper over Zhonghai's football stadium, lightning flashing in the sky and rain pelting down, she felt a sickening feeling of dread wash over her. Conscious she was live for everyone to see, she masked its sensation quickly and went back to her report on what was going on below her. "Thank you, Tom," she said, addressing the host back in the safety of the news station. "This is Cassidy Hill, and we are currently overlooking an absolute throwdown in the football stadium of Zhonghai. Infamous G-Triad leader Mamaragon has finally revealed himself and is currently facing off against the recently arrived Tomaki, the defender of Zhongborough. Since arriving in Zhong some weeks ago, Tomaki has bested some of the Triad's most dangerous executives, and it looks like Mamaragon is finally going to settle the score. We saw a brief break in the action when two women appeared on scene along with the elusive Komodo himself, who Mamaragon just dispatched with a bolt of lightning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is getting too dangerous even— Wait, something is happening." Cassidy stopped speaking as Jake, her cameraman, zoomed in below. They walked as Mamaragon was screaming over a young black girl who just collapsed next to him. Tomaki, meanwhile, was snarling furiously, eyes flashing with rage. The ground was shaking and the air felt like it was rising in pressure rapidly. "Dear God," Cassidy whispers, "give us some distance." The chopper pilot obediently began pulling back so as not to be too close to whatever was about to happen. And Cassidy, for a moment, forgot she was supposed to be reporting what was happening, content to simply watch as two titans began to clash. Mamaragon roared. He vanished in a flash of light, but to my surprise, I could feel where he was going. He reappeared next to me, fists raised, and my legs swung out to meet him. We collided and sprung off of each other, a thunderclap announcing our strikes. "I'll kill you!" Mamaragon roared. "Get out of here!" I shouted to Victoria. Victoria was busy trying to drag Warren away from the fighting. I just had enough time to see Mamaragon rebounding back to strike. I dodged and struck him across the face. He repaid me with a hand clawing at me to rake electricity across my face. The golden light began to fill my eyes again. The energy exploded in demanding release. I was furious. I was more angry than I'd felt in years. Warren, that girl, Jada, why do people die so that I can live? Why can't I protect anyone? It was coming. The power was filling. My eyes found Mamaragon and I sneered. "You asked me about the Golden Warrior, you son of a bitch! Take a good long look!" I erupted like a volcano. The golden light flowed off of me like a geyser, and the air repulsed with my anger. My hair turned golden, and I felt my exhausted body overflowing with strength. Mamaragon, though outraged himself, had the sense to look stunned, but his shock didn't last long. He was rallying and running at me. "Golden or rotten, I'll turn your bones to ash!" Mamaragon roared. I sneered and raised my hand up. "Die!" Mamaragon fired a series of lightning bolts, and I raised my hand out. My own ki blast met his, and the two roared like a pair of angry beasts. The two energy shots finally fell apart, and I moved in. It was like the rest of the world was in slow motion as I closed the distance. Was he even moving? I struck once, twice, a third time, 4 times, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10! I punched him again and again until I was literally lifting Mamaragon's body off the ground with the rapid volley of my punches. I felt ribs cracking in his chest. Blood was dribbling from his teeth as I could see his eyes widening in horror. I could feel his electrical barrier with each punch, but it felt like nothing more than a minder tingling on my hands and wrists. I didn't even notice it. My aura defended me. I stopped the combination for his body to start to fall, but as it fell, I swung a roundhouse kick into his cheek, which sent him rocketing backwards like he'd been shot from a cannon. I wasn't done. I was nowhere close to done. I shot after him and reappeared above his body. I then dropped down, slamming my knee directly into his chest, sending him crashing into the ground, creating a crater. Mamaragon howled in pain. "How does it feel, you arrogant bastard? Not used to this kind of pain, are you?" I struck him hard in the cheek, ripping apart the football field as his body dug a trench through the ground from the force of the hit. I pursued and grabbed his wrist, flinging him out of the ground so he was once more where I could hit him. Mamaragon's face was bleeding, his body broken, and yet he was still overflowing with contempt. Somehow he was still able to fight. Lightning tore from his body, and I had to evade fast to avoid the brunt of it. Sure, my aura protected me, but too much energy and I'd start to feel it. "You took her from me!" Mamaragon screamed at me. "You took Jada from me!" I didn't bother responding. He was too far gone in his rage. And frankly, I just wanted to fight. I had to fight. If I couldn't protect anyone, I'd just destroy the threat before it could take anyone else. I lunged at him, and he took to the air using his electrical discharge to gain altitude. I pursued, and our fight went to the skies. This is Cassidy Hill reporting again live from the battle in Shanghai between Tomaki and Mamaragan. Ladies and gentlemen, this battle has gotten to the point of, oh my god! Cassidy was forced to duck as the two combatants flew right past their chopper, crashing into each other with outstanding force and rage. Lightning seemed to flash around him with each strike and blow. The Golden Warrior Tomaki was unquestionably holding his own against the seemingly invincible Mamaragan. Each blow sent shockwaves through the air, and Cassidy felt lurches in her stomach with each wave. Jake struggled to keep his camera on the action, but the two fighters were moving fast and flashing it out of view as they struggled to kill each other. Suddenly, one of them reappeared only feet away from the chopper. It was Tomaki. He shot them a look and hissed. "Get away from here!" he roared before turning his attention back to Mamaragan. Miss Cassidy, I think we should do what he says," Jake whimpered. Cassidy nodded. Yeah, Tom, we're cutting back to you while we get a safe distance away from this. We'll keep you updated as the situation becomes more... Oh, Jesus! A lightning bolt shot past the chopper's tail, and Cassidy had to grab Jake for support. Tomaki was already on top of Mamaragan before he could take another shot. For the first time since she was a child, Cassidy Hill was praying to God. Praying with all her might. "How many more are you gonna kill?" I roared as I grabbed Mamaragan by the throat and threw him away from the chopper. "Everyone, if that's what it takes," he bellowed. "I'll end it all!" "Then I'm gonna end you!" I vowed, kicking him as high into the air as I could. I'd unleashed my full power safely above the clouds, but Mamaragan was already prepared as he held out his hands. "That's my line, you murderer," he shouted. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning from the atmosphere struck Mamaragan, and to my shock, he was channeling it. He was combining the natural lightning with his own to make a massive blast to destroy me, and likely the whole football field below us, where there were still onlookers and cameras recording our clash. I watched as he gathered more and more electricity to himself, and I snarled. If I dodged that attack, hundreds could die. But if I did nothing, I'd die anyway. I inhaled slowly and drew my hands back, gathering energy of my own to me. "Mom," I whispered, "if you can hear me, you gave me this power. You were the one who thought I was more than a murderer. Please, let me stop this monster!" My ki began to fill my hands, pouring into my blast. I would unleash it. It had to be strong enough. This had to be enough. My power was swelling further and further as my mind went to Warren, to that girl Jada, to Victoria, to my mom. The golden power was getting larger. "Die, Tomaki!" Mamaragan roared. The lightning bolt exploded down, and I responded by unleashing my own blast. The two forces collided in midair, and I roared to the heavens as the power of lightning collided with the rage of a Saiyan. That's what I was, after all. A Saiyan. A Super Saiyan. I wouldn't falter. I wouldn't fail. I would fight. I would win. I poured on more power. I roared, gnashing my teeth, and let my anger and fury fuel the blast. After a few moments, I noticed to my relief the lightning was fading, the bolts giving way to my rage. My massive blast, normally blue and brilliant, now glowed a glorious white with small bolts of lightning escaping from the ray. Mamaragan vanished in the roar and brilliance of my blast, and I watched as it cut a literal hole in the clouds, burning the palms of my hands as it seared my skin. I lowered my hands in amazement of my own blast I'd caused and looked up as the light finally dissipated. The air itself felt oddly dense, humid almost. When the light vanished, I saw a scorched body fall from the sky and crash in the middle of the football field. I drifted slowly down to the defeated Mamaragan, laying in a heap on the ground, eyes shut tight from pain, his clothes scorched and torn, his body burned all over. He was helpless. His body was useless now. He was at my mercy. "I could kill you," I growled. "I probably should kill you." But as I started to put my actions to the words, I remembered Victoria and Mom, and I halted. I felt the golden energy fade. I let my anger be replaced with an agony of sadness. The weight of the fight caught up with me, and I sank to my knees, breathing heavily as rain fell around us. Mamaragan's yellow eyes opened to gaze at me, his teeth clenched. "I could kill you, but then that would make me no different than you." "Jada, please, is she..." I glanced back to where we'd left the crowd before. I silently tried to feel for an energy from her, and to my relief, I felt something. It was faint, but it was there. "She's alive," I assured him. Margon winced and bit his lip. He looked away from me and I watched him. I could tell he had something he wanted to say.
You're lucky, he ground. Damn it.
She your sister?
I doubt she wants anything to do with me anymore.
Margon groaned, his eyes getting heavy.
I did everything to keep her safe.
How? I asked. He didn't answer me. He was fading into unconsciousness, and the crowds of people were starting to get brave enough to come closer and investigate. As he passed out, I felt an overwhelming urge to join him. I was tired. My body was practically destroyed. I heard someone shouting my name, and then I felt myself collapsing into the sweet embrace of sleep. Chapter 23. He shouldn't even be alive. A voice. I didn't know that voice. Who was speaking? You don't know that boy like I know him. That one was Master Hayato. Still, it's a miracle after what happened to that other boy? That was Nicole. Is there any chance of saving him? I'm afraid not. He was pronounced dead at the scene. And that was Chief Rhodes. To think that the Golden Warrior this whole time. Doctor, it's best we not go public with that information. The papers will already have it. There was a news chopper catching the whole thing. Even so, the less we put Tomaki in the spotlight, the better. He's Sean's hero, but not its celebrity. I felt myself gradually and reluctantly stirring from my sleep. My body ached, and every muscle in me felt like I wanted to collapse, but I willed myself to consciousness and grit my teeth in frustration. My eyes took in the bleary world around me, and I quickly began to piece together where I was. I was back in the hospital, but this was a different room from before, and the bed was different too. I could feel large metal restraints holding me in place. I glared down at them a moment and then lay my head back. I realized how thirsty I was and how hungry. I started to think about water and about food. And then another thought crossed my mind. The thought made me bolt up, and in doing so, series of pains and aches coursed through my body, making me shout. The noise caused the talking outside to stop, and in came a tall doctor, along with Dr. Nicole, Chief Rhodes, and Master Hayato. You're awake, Nicole cried. How do you feel, child? Where's Mamaragon? I coughed. He's in another room. He's more banged up than you are, kid, Rhodes said. Though his voice was hard, there was a smile on his face. Jesus Christ, I knew you were strong, but to take on Mamaragon and win. I want to see him. You're in no state to get out of that bed, the doctor spoke up. The fact you're even alive is incredible, and I plan to keep you that way. You're staying in bed until... Please, I croaked. I want to see Mamaragon. I had to talk to him. I had to understand. They all looked at me funny, but it was Master Hayato who stepped forward first. Tomaki, he's not going anywhere. His injuries are severe, and he needs time to heal, just like you do. I promise that when you're more fit to see him, we'll let you have your words with Mamaragon. Hayato spoke in that familiar tone that told me arguing was pointless. I just nodded and lay back, knowing that any further discussion was a waste of time. I see. And while we're on the subject, how reckless exactly are you, boy? You tried to fight back a lightning strike with your own ki? Do you realize how risky that was? I've done crazier things, and I chastise you too for those instances as well. I just asked myself what Master Hayato would do, I grinned. Despite it all, Hayato was smiling. I'll be beating some sense into you once you recover, and you can count on that. How's the school? I asked. It's in one piece, Rhodes explained, though the stadium will need renovations. But thanks to you, injuries were at a minimum, and the largest crime syndicate was brought down. Things are actually looking up for a change. From there, Chief Rhodes told me everything about what happened. After I defeated Mamaragon, the police rushed in to clean everything up. The school was closed for everyone to do what needed to be done. Me and Mamaragon had been rushed to the hospital, and both of us were on the brink of death. I'd apparently been touch and go for about 4 days, and I'd only just regained consciousness a week later. In the meanwhile, several dirty cops had come forward with information they'd been hiding, ties to several Triad informants. Through their testimony, Triad hideouts around the borough were being cleaned out. The She Triads were all but eradicated. Without Mamaragon as the frightening power who kept them all in check, they lacked the guts to stand together. I'd done more than break a gang leader. I'd broken the spirit of his whole syndicate. Rhodes probably would have told me more, but the doctor then shooed everyone out, wanting me to rest and get recuperated. I didn't argue this time. I just lay back, closed my eyes, and drifted into sleep again, satisfied I'd been able to do something right. "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" Hayato asked me. It had been another week since I'd woken up, and the doctor said I was well enough to get out of bed, and there was someone I had to see. Hayato held my arm as I staggered down the hall, my hospital gown draped around me, and my legs still shaking. "You really need more rest, boy." "I'm okay, Master. I have to do this." "As you say." He didn't argue any further as he walked me to a far room at the end of the hall where 3 police stood guard. When they saw me coming, they stepped aside, expressions of awe on their faces as they opened the door for me. I walked inside and saw him. He was lying in a bed, large heavy bars holding him down to the bed and a pair of handcuffs on both wrists locking him in. Mamaragan lay there, looking absolutely deflated and defeated. The same arrogant and powerful warrior I'd fought before, all but gone out of him. He turned and saw me, and our eyes met. "You," he muttered. "What, come here to gloat?" "No," I answered. "Master, can I have a moment?" Hayato nodded and walked out, leaving me alone with my enemy. "I got nothing to say to you. You won. You beat me. Isn't that enough for you?" "You were the most powerful opponent I've ever fought," I admitted. "I should have died in that football stadium because you were incredibly strong. Stronger than anything I thought possible." "If this is some kind of flattery," "But that's exactly why I still want an answer to my question back there. I asked you why you were a she-triad, why you were doing all the horrible things you were doing, and you said I wouldn't understand. I thought that was true at first, but then your sister asked the same question, and you said she couldn't understand it either. That didn't make sense to me. She's your sister. She loves you. Why wouldn't she understand?" And that's when I understood. It's not that she wouldn't understand. It's that you don't want to admit it. You're protecting her. Amaragon stiffened, and a few bolts of lightning jolted from his eyes. "What the hell do you know about it?" he snarled. "Like I said, you're lucky. The hero of Shan City. The savior of Zhongburo, the Golden Warrior. A hero. You don't know a thing about what I've done or what I've had to sacrifice." I didn't speak. I let him rage. He needed it. I watched him, and finally saw him soften. "Jada, she's everything to me. When she was only 5, our mom died in a hit and run. We had to live with my old man, a cruel, drunk, useless waste of skin. He'd beat us, called us useless. He'd do things to Jada, things that..." He bit his lip and grit his teeth. "But what else could we do? We didn't have money or family to run off to. We just endured it. And then when I turned 15, my powers manifested. I don't know how, but they did. We kept it a secret from my old man. Didn't want him turning me over to the MCD." "The what?" "Mutant Control Division," Amaragon answered. "The mutation strain that causes some of us to mutate and gain powers was a new and scary thing. The city government tried to cover it up with this MCD, a division meant to catch and incarcerate mutants until a cure could be found. But it didn't matter. One night, my old man came home stinking drunk, and I knew that look in his eye. I knew what he was going to do to Jada. So I stopped him. I stopped him with the only means I knew how." Amaragon turned and glared at me. "You ever killed someone, Tomaki?" "I did," Amaragon hissed. "I killed that useless bastard who called himself my old man. And you want to know what scared me the most? It was easy. I barely had to try." He then looked back at the ceiling. "Jada didn't know I'd done it, though. She was asleep at the time. When I told her we were running away, she didn't argue. She just assumed I knew best and followed me wherever I took her. But I told myself I'd never use my powers again. I only did what I did to protect her. But of course it happened again," I finished. "Yeah. I'd gotten a job as a busboy. I was leaving work to go get Jade from school, and I saw her being assaulted. Some street punks. So I dealt with them. And it was so easy. He fell silent and looked me in the eyes. She trusted me. Thought I was the coolest and best brother in the world, and I swore that no one would ever lay a hand on her. And if I couldn't do it through legal means, I'd take over the criminal underworld. As Mamaragan, I could take over. I could protect Zhong Burrow and my sister. No gang would touch her. No gang would try, and she'd be happy and safe. And then you came. I stood silently and listened to him finish his story. And then I spoke. 3 years ago, I killed the woman who loved me the most. And the woman I loved the most. Amargon's head twitched as he turned his eyes to look at me. Not directly, but she's dead because of me. She took me in, she raised me, cared for me, and loved me when I deserved none of it. And in return, I was cruel to her. I mocked her, I chastised her, I shouted and snapped at her. And then she died trying to protect me. I didn't deserve it. I wasn't worthy of it, but she did it anyway. Though I didn't pull the trigger, I know she died because of me. Your mom, right? Margon asked. Belle? I ran away in shame. I couldn't face what I'd done. I told myself it was to train, but in reality, I was just scared to face my past. I was scared to face the reality of what I was. But I realized something while I was away training. I realized that I wanted to do for this city what Belle had done for me. I wanted to save it, to protect it, like you. I know it would be easy to kill the people I hate, and there are times I really, really want to. When I fought you, I wanted to kill you, but I didn't, because I know that my mom wouldn't have wanted that, just like Jada wouldn't want you to do all the things you did. Why are you telling me all this? Mamaragan asked. Because I do understand why you did what you did. I get it. And I respect you. That feeling ain't mutual. I don't care if it is or not. But I get what it means to go through hell for the people you care about. And to make sacrifices for them. And to protect them, even when they don't realize it. Margon snorted. Yeah. Except Jada probably don't want anything to do with me anymore. I'm sure she hates me. Is that so? I asked. You're the only visitor I've had since being locked in this damn room. If she wanted to see me, don't you think she would have come by now? Well, truthfully, I had to pull strings just to talk to you. Chief Rhodes told me I'm not the first person who's begged to see you. Just the only one they permitted. Amargon suddenly jolted and spun. Jada? I don't know, but I assume so. Can she please, please, I want to see. I'll talk to Chief Rhodes. I'll see what I can do. I promise you that much. Amargon leaned back and looked up at the ceiling. Don't know what I'm going to say to her when she shows up. Guess I'll figure that out. Tomaki, since you're here making promises, can you make me one more? What is it? Keep her safe, man. Please. Do what I couldn't. Keep my baby sis safe. I promise. You ain't bad for a monkey-tailed bitch. Whatever you say, Sparky. A few weeks passed and I was still in the hospital. But luckily I'd be set to leave in a few days if I continued to improve. Hayato, Rhodes, and several other people did drop by, but the one person I wanted to visit didn't come. The one person I wanted to see. Each time my door knocked, I would perk up with anticipation, just like now as a middle-aged doctor walked inside. I groaned and lay back in bed. Good evening, Tomaki, the doctor said. I glanced at him and then stared. I don't recognize you, I growled. The doctor nodded and took off his glasses. Yes, this is our first time meeting. Allow me to introduce myself. Suddenly the doctor's body began to swirl like melted wax as it reshaped and restructured from a middle-aged man into a young woman with short black hair. She was still wearing the clothing of the doctor she'd been disguised as, and the coat looked far too big for her, yet she gave an air of professionalism that reminded me of a teacher. My name is my name is Chelsea. My triad name is behind me. I stared in shock, disbelief. A triad member was still active and in my room. Triad! I cried. So you're working for the She? I snarled. What's this, come to kill me to avenge your boss? Nothing of the sort, she answered. I did speak with Marcus before seeing you. He wanted me to pass along a message. She put her glasses back on after wiping them and adjusting them. He wants to inform you that he is being taken into custody and he has no interest in resisting. He'll serve his sentence. He asks that you remember your promise to him, and as a gesture of good faith, he has requested that you accept me into your retinue of allies. You? I asked, shocked. Why? Not too long ago, you were my enemy. Yes, I was Marcus's information officer and chief of organization. I'm a mutant like him. However, as you just saw, I possess the power to transform my body into whatever form I please. Of course, I can't become an exact copy of someone else. I always get details wrong. But just like looking like someone else, not an issue. I have intel on half the gangs and criminal groups in the city, and if I don't have info that you need, I have the power to get it. I can be a very useful asset to you. Fine as all that is. I don't have any money to pay you, even if I was interested. I'm not asking for money, she snapped. I can easily get money if I need it. What I want is security. The Triad is dead, Tomaki. Members are being hunted down and rounded up as we speak. I know it's only a matter of time before I'm targeted, and I'd rather not live my whole life in hiding. I offer you my services and information, as well as my absolute loyalty. In exchange, I beg you to grant me amnesty. And Marcus sent you to me for that. He said you were a good man. Honorable. He can't protect me anymore, so I'm forced to place my trust in you. She then bowed her head low, waiting for my response. I stared at her a long moment before I gave a sigh. Well, I'll do what I can. No promises, I answered. Chelsea lifted her head and nodded. Then we have an agreement. Good to be working for you, boss. She then resumed the doctor form she was in before and walked to the door. Oh, and there's another visitor who wants to see you. She then walked out, and in walked the person that I wanted to see. She walked in with tear-filled eyes, and I felt my whole body go rigid as I sat up. I stared at her, and her at me. She was wearing a red hoodie and jeans, and her hands were shaking. Victoria, I gasped. Tomaki. Oh God, Tomaki. She walked over and looked me over, new tears rolling down her face. I'm so sorry it took me so long to see you. Dad told me how beat up you were and how it was best that I wait, and then I was so scared to see you after all that happened, and Warren, he... I felt my throat go tight. I hadn't wanted to ask about Warren. I still resented him somewhat, and yet he gave his life to save mine. I'd misjudged him, and I couldn't ever make that right. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry about everything. You have nothing to apologize for, she cried. Tomaki, you saved us all. You beat Mamaragon. The She Triads are gone. But Jada and Warren... Jada will be fine. She's mad at her brother, but she's doing okay. Warren, he... That was my fault, Tomaki. Please don't blame yourself for that. Her voice choked and she began shaking. I yelled at him. The last words I shared with him, I shouted at him, and I never got to say I was sorry. I winced. I knew that feeling all too well. I knew it because of how I'd lost Belle. He told me Victoria, Warren told me... I paused. Was it right to say this? Was it right to tell her what Warren's last words were? He said he was sorry. This news brought more tears to her eyes, and I instantly regretted saying them. He really wasn't a bad person. I wish I'd never said all those awful things to him. How can I ever make it up to him now? I didn't like this conversation. It was hurting. Was this why she'd waited so long to come see me? She was still holding on to the pain of what happened to Warren. Maybe he really was that important to her. If you want to leave... She paused and looked at me confused. Look, I know you and Warren were... Well, you were special, and if being with me like this is a problem for you, Oh, would you shut up? I suddenly felt Victoria throw herself into me, her arms wrapping around me tightly. I winced from the pain of it, but didn't stop her. She cried into my chest, and I felt her holding tighter and tighter. Tomaki, I was so scared for you. I saw how angry you got when he died, how furious you became. That power, it was terrifying. I thought I lost you. I thought you'd become someone else. I stared at her, my hand moving up to cradle her head. Victoria, I'm still me. I can't lose you, Tomaki, she pleaded. You won't, I smiled weakly. I then felt her shift, just enough to look at me. And then I felt her mouth gently press over mine. And I froze. It was like I'd gone Super Saiyan again. That feeling of weightlessness, the sensation of joy and power, like I was unbeatable, untouchable, better than I'd ever been before. My whole body felt hot, and I felt like I'd started flying at any moment. I didn't want to think about anything else. I didn't want to see anyone else. I just wanted to sit like this, with her, forever. But like all dreams, I knew that I'd have to leave this one at some point. But for now, I'd hold on to it while I could. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Act 1 of the Tale of Tomaki. Give me a minute to drink something. That's right. That was Act 1. And in honor of you guys being so patient and watching this with me, go ahead and let me know in the chat what you thought about it, what you thought about the Tale of Tomaki Act 1. And while you do, I'll share some pictures with you. I'll share some images of characters from the Tale of Tomaki. It'll take me a minute to pull them up, but I should be able to. Some of these, admittedly, will be AI art because I use them to get general idea designs, but some of them will be art done by other people, so don't worry about that. Now, I won't show any art that will spoil anything for the later acts, but I can show you this at least. This is pretty good. Hannah drew this, actually. I will try to show you all this as we go through it. So Hannah drew chibi versions of a lot of the major characters, and I'll point them out as we go. That is Tomaki and his Super Saiyan form. I really love the way she did Super Saiyan form, since we don't normally see the tail of the Super Saiyan when it's active. I thought that was really cool. We have Victoria and Melody. That is Victoria on the left and Melody on the right. Thought that their designs were really good. If you don't remember Melody, she was the android girl. Oh, Hannah, you don't like this art? Then we have Mamaragon down there on the far left. That is Mamaragon. Really cool design. I really love the way that Hannah did that. We have Komodo, or Warren, right next to him. I thought that was a good image, too. Really like that Hannah drew him partially transformed into his lizard mode. We have Atlas and Hermes right next to them. So that's Atlas on the center left, or, well, the one in the red tank top, and then Hermes on the far right. And he is in his cool jetpack suit. That was a really cool image. I really like the way those came out. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have Artemis. That's right, that is Artemis at the very bottom, the one who worked for Margon but is now working for Tomaki. So now you get to see how they look. That is that image. I'll show you some more. Give me a minute to find them. Might take a second. I got to dig through a lot of files here. No, I can't show you that one yet. That image is that image would spoil something from the next act, so I can't show that one. Let's see. I know I've got a picture of Mamaragon somewhere around here. Give me a second, guys. I'll find it. Again, can't show that image because that image would spoil something coming later. Don't that beat all? It's very strange that I can't seem to find them all of a sudden. That is odd. Well, there's another way to get to it. Let me see. Okay, that's one. All right, let's see if that worked. Here we go. This is Mamaragon. This was a really good image of him that was created. Give you all a minute to look over that. I thought this one came out very well. All right, and then I'll show you this next one. Oh, my fault. Get rid of that. Here we are. This is an image of a face-off between the two. I really like this image. I love the way that Tomaki and Mamaragon are kind of staring each other down. Looks really good. All right. Now let's see. Do I got any more good ones? Got some stuff that were drawn. I can show you those. Oh, my mouse was acting weird. All right, let me see. That's a good image. Let me see if I can't pull that one out. This was one drawn by Hannah a long time ago. She's probably not proud of it now, but I still love it. That is Tomaki and Victoria. Let y'all look at that for a second. Yeah, I know you don't like it, Hannah. You could always update it, but you don't. Let's see. What's another good one? This was Tomaki drawn with a character that someone else made. It was fan art, actually. This was fan art that someone drew. I really liked the way this came out. Ended up writing a story of Tomaki and their OC working together, which was cool. Yeah, I remember Tomaki teaming up with Spirit. That was a fun story. And I think I got at least one or two more. Oh yeah, there's this fan art. This was fan art of Tomaki as a child. This was very cute. Very, very cute sketch. But that is art all from Act 1 of Tomaki. We will probably call it there, though. I know it says chapters 19 through 27. It's getting late. It's about 10 o'clock here, and I kind of want to go ahead and leave y'all thirsty for Act 2. We'll start that next Monday. We'll start Act 2 next Monday, because I'm very excited to share that with you guys. There's some great stuff coming. But before I call it, I will give y'all a little sneak peek of what's coming in Act 2. I'll at least give you that. I can at least give you a sneak peek. 1 second. You will be getting 2 characters. I'll show you the images of 2 characters that will be showing up in Act 2. Here's one. No, that is not Tomaki, for anyone wondering. And no, it's not Vegeta either. It is another Saiyan, but it is not Vegeta. His name is Daikon. Daikon will be showing up next chapter, actually. And now I'll show you the second character who will be showing up. Special Agent Frost. You'll like her. I think you will like her a lot. I like her a lot. She's great. All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. This was a fun reading session. I enjoyed it. Hurt my voice a little bit to do some of that screaming, but hopefully that will be toned down for next time. Okay, so. All right, well. That about wraps everything up. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We will pick up Act 2 of the Tale of Tomaki next Monday. And, yeah, that about wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoy the Tale of Tomaki. Wait, question. Isn't that AI art? Yes, it is. I use AI art often to get designs for characters and to give myself inspiration for them. So, like, if I want to get a general idea. Anyway. Alright, that wraps everything up. Alright, thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in my next video. Take care.